What's up, brother?
How are you?
I'm well. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Let me turn the volume up. I'm honored to be here.
It's an honor to have you here.
No, the honor's mine, obviously.
No. The honor is mine.
Well, we're New York guys. New York guys got to stick together. Period.
You know, let me tell you something. Let me tell you what I've noticed.
Go ahead.
Right? In doing this,
Right.
I've done this close to 100. Right? And today's Wednesday. Monday, I did Lost Art Press with Christopher. You should check. It was bananas. It was like, you ever been in class and a teacher is talking to a student about something else and everyone else around the class is having a completely different conversation while the teacher's having. We were talking, and his cronies and his buddies and his posse and his crew were all chiming in because he started off with this nipple thing. And the nipple thing took a whole nother road. But what I realized is that there are pockets of people across the country that stick together. The West Coast, the West Coast guys, the same thing. So, and what I haven't noticed is, as you just said, the New York guys the East Coast guys got to get a better nucleus of camaraderie.
Here's what I'm going to say. As a blacksmith and a sculptor, the New York guys in that knife making, blacksmithing community are pretty tight.
Good.
But in the maker community, in general, the knife community, our New Yorkers are pretty tight.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, so introduce yourself and tell us where you are and what you do.
My name's Geoff Fader. I have a small company in the Hudson Valley, northern Westchester, called Fader Knives, and I make. I'm a knife maker. I'm a custom knife maker. I was a blacksmith for quite a while. I still am.
Hold up. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Now it's just an introduction.
That's it. Yeah, okay.
So we have 60 minutes. We're going 60-minute intervals.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you a series of questions.
Go ahead.
And then we'll get into your journey and how you got to do what you're doing.
Okay.
What is your most overused phrase?
Oh, I'm with you. I'm with you by a mile, by like a mile. And I say I'm with you all the time. And
even when you're not with someone, you say I'm with you.
Well, I'm with you started out as, when you're a knife maker, you end up meeting guys who are like a little bit out of their minds. So what happens is they're generally talking to you or talking at you. So when there used to be that expression, you're preaching to the choir. You don't have to sell me. I started to say I'm with you, and then that would immediately stop the conversation, and it was like the door closer of any question. Well, I'm with you, and then all of a sudden they would be quiet. So when at first it was a way to kind of make people just be quiet, or I got it, I know what you're saying, I'm with you. But then the blacksmithing and knife making community thought that I was just being really, really encouraging. So now it's like both. I'm with you is this very noble way to talk to somebody. So it's both. But I say it all the time. That's how I. And when my wife, if I say I'm with you with my wife or my business partner, they'll be like, oh, okay, conversation's over. I'm with you, man. So yeah, the answer is I'm with you. It's everything for every situation.
It fits. What is your least favorite thing to do?
I don't enjoy grinding knives. I don't enjoy standing in front of a grinder and grinding bevel. But I'm getting past. I love being in business, and I love kind of seeing these things go through. But I would definitely say standing in front of a grinder is not my favorite thing to do.
It's the dirty job.
Well, it's just, you're standing in front of this 2x72 grinder with these abrasive belts, and you're slowly grinding out the bevels, and it can be very tedious. And then, as you know, you're a woodworker, you start to feel the grits start to, the belts start to fade, and you got to change them, and you're standing, and you have the whole outfit on, and you got the mask and the respirator. It's not like It's not elegant work, if you don't mind.
Right? Yeah, it's not sexy at all.
No, nothing about it.
Yeah, it's like sanding for us, but guys say they like sanding. I'm like, okay.
Well, we do a lot of hand sanding of steel, and I actually like that. It's much more tedious, but you can kind of move around, and you're not wearing like protective outfits, and there's no heat and stuff like that. So,
okay. What is your most favorite thing to do?
My favorite thing to do is to forge.
In life.
Forging is so blacksmithing. When you're blacksmithing, you're taking a piece of steel, you're sticking it into a forge, like a very hot furnace. You're getting it to a plastic stage, and then you're putting it on an anvil with a hammer, and you're holding it different positions, and then you're actually manipulating.
This is in life.
Pardon me?
These are life questions.
Oh, these aren't like business questions? One of my favorite things to do is obviously be with my family. Come on, man. I didn't know. I thought we were talking. I didn't. All right, so okay. I got to be a little bit more bigger.
Worldly.
I got you.
Yeah, we're getting to know you. We're gonna get into your work after. I just want to get to know you a little bit.
Okay. I didn't realize that this was so intense. All right, I understand. Okay, I thought you wanted the nitty gritty. Okay.
No.
Go ahead.
And the reason for that is that we want this to be more general for people to enjoy.
Understand.
As too work specific until it only goes to a certain demographic.
Okay.
All right. What is the one thing your spouse would change about you?
Would change?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, these questions. Come on, man. You're getting me in trouble more. Like, honestly, if I could be more helpful to her the exact way she wants me to be helpful, that would be the best. Like if I could be as fastidious in home, but the way she wants me to be fastidious. Like I can help clean up, but it's not really the way she wants me to clean up. If I could know that like combination, if I could know the exact combination of how she wants me to be clean up, I'd be the best husband on earth. But I don't get it. I don't know. She won't tell me. How do you put it in the dishwasher? Why am I putting the dishes in wrong? What do you mean the spoons need to go up? What does it matter? They're in the dishwasher. I need to know these subtle things. I don't know.
So what you're saying is that if you were an employee, you'd be fired.
If I was her employee?
Yeah.
Oh, out the door. I mean, I wouldn't even make it through the interview. I wouldn't make it through the interview. She'd have thrown, I got real lucky that I hooked into her early. Because if it was now, it would be problematic.
What makes you tick?
You know, my father and my sisters were really like, time is not on our side. So I always think about being wasteful in your time. And I can't have a day wasted. Like I'm very much along the lines of it's this or nothing. So I don't, there's no plan B. So I try to do everything as you know, organized and as smart as I can.
Okay. Time is money.
Well, time is also time. Money, I just interviewed this amazing knife maker named Quentin Middleton, and he says, you know, money's always going to be there. It's the time you'll never have. So I
can't get it back. Time is
not my friend. The older I get too, the more nervous I am about it.
I would agree with that because there's so much we haven't done.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, my kid is now 15, and I remember when she was born, she was this little thing, and now she's, you know, trying to get ready to go on with her life, and it's just like, what happened? So it's like, time is not on her side.
Yep, yeah. My son's 21, and I was thinking about things I would have changed, and would have been fighting to spend more time with him. Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, it's, you know, you don't realize it until you realize it, right?
Yeah. Yep. What irks you the most?
What irks me the most?
Yes.
I think that I have a real problem with excuses. Like I don't like to give excuses, and I don't like to take responsibility for my actions. But when I hear excuses for why something can't be done, or why somebody can't do something, or why they're late, or why I don't, you know, I have a real problem with people not taking responsibility for their actions. That's a problem. Like that's a real problem with me. Like I feel like it's a sign of weakness.
I'm with you. What sound?
There you go. You have to say it like I'm with you. Because then if you say, I'm with you, that's a little nice. But I'm with you means, all right, shut them up. There you go.
No, but I'm with you.
Right? I'm telling you, it's the worst. Excuses are like, I've heard the worst excuses for this is the stupidest excuses. Just like, why are you wasting my time? I don't have more time.
Right. Just take it, accept it, and keep moving.
Yeah, or something.
What sound makes you happiest?
The sound of my family. That's the answer I'm supposed to give, right? The sound of my happy family and that's it.
How big is your family?
I have a wife and daughter and dogs and cats and a couple sisters. And
how many dogs and cats? It sounds like a lot.
2 dogs, 2 cats. It was a giant mistake. I had nothing to do with any of it. But I seem to be the animal wrangler, which is annoying.
So wait a second. How did you get 2 dogs and 2 cats?
My daughter wanted 1 dog. My wife wanted the 2nd dog. And then cats just kind of shuffle through their lives. And as one fades on to the afterworld, the next one comes in. It's like a rotation. But the confines of our house is getting a little bit too big.
Okay. What sound bothers you?
Well, the sound of my vacuum pump is about to, shit the bed. So the sound of that's pretty bad.
All right.
Broken machinery, gears breaking, broken machinery is not. I don't like that.
I'm with you.
There you go. There you go. You're natural now.
What profession other than your own would you like to try?
That's a good question. I went to culinary school. I would have loved to cook professionally. I went to culinary school and I worked in a couple restaurants for a while. I would have liked to have been in the restaurant business a little bit longer. I enjoyed working, as a team, and I liked in regards to teamwork. It doesn't get much closer than a bump in kitchen. So I love that camaraderie because I don't have it now. Now it's just me. So I don't have that, working in unison, time is not on your side kind of situation. Oh, there's why not? There's Tony. Tony's in the house.
What's up, Tony?
Tony's one of the best chefs in New York. He's my business partner too.
Okay. Now, what restaurants does Tony have working?
Well, he's not in them anymore, but he and I used to work together in this restaurant called Alva. And then the last restaurant he was at Oriole in New York. And then now he's my partner in Fader Knives. And he's got an incredible, these web companies that do web accounting software. Great.
Very nice.
Great dude.
Right. What would you want on your tombstone?
What I want on my tombstone?
Yeah. Ain't
gonna be a tombstone. When it's over, baby. The light switch turns off, and that's out. I will not have a tombstone. I forbid a tombstone. There will be no tombstone. There will be no memory. My family will not be. I will inform them not to be sentimental about my death. There you go. See, I will inform him not to be sentimental, and there will be no tombstone. So the answer is, well, obviously, I'm with you would be on my tombstone.
Okay, hold up. So
I'm with you would be great on a tombstone. It'd be great on a tombstone. But I'm not gonna have a tombstone. But if I were, that's what it would be.
Okay, so
Doghouse Forge, one of the best knife makers in the country.
What's up, Doghouse? Okay, so why no tombstone? So you think when it's done, it's done?
Of course. When it's done, it's done. I mean, I think that if you really want my personal opinion, I think that as humans, we've become a little too narcissistic in regards to who we are in the universe. And that the fact that the idea that this importance must go somewhere when it's all over, that's some bullshit. I mean, sorry. But I mean, it's like, I think just, you don't see ghosts of dinosaurs and you don't see ghosts. I mean, it's like, I just think that you've had it, you make the best of your life, have a good life. And when it's over, it's like a complete shutting down. The only reason why I think that is I had my appendix out years ago, and they knocked me out. They put the thing in my vein, and then they said, all right, count to 7, and you'll be, out, and we're going to take your appendix out. At 1, 2, boom. The trap door comes down, it's over, and I wake up in a bed constipated, 3 hours later. And it was very much along the lines, it was this feeling of, that is what death is like. There's no twiddling your thumb. There's no, what's going to happen now? It's over. And I felt a great deal of relief because I woke up and I was just like, there was nothing. There was nothing. I was on the table, and then now I'm constipated in a bed. It's great.
So let's hope in your tombstone you're not constipated.
That's why it's wasteful at the tombstone, because I'm gonna be dead anyway. Who cares what it? I'm not gonna be floating over wondering why they, the font of the tombstone. I don't care.
All right. What is it about your personality that drives your business?
I think that for my business, I do more than a lot of knife makers because I keep my customers involved in the process. So it's very much along the lines of it's not just buying a knife. You're kind of getting a story. And I really try to, and I learned that when I was a sculptor, I learned that people want to know what you're doing. So what I do, I let the customer watch their knife being built. And I think you end up getting more than just any knife. You can get a knife from, you got a pile of knife makers in this feed right here, or the best in the world. You can get one of their knives, and they're going to be amazing. I think that how do you separate yourself out? And for me, it's always telling a story. So when you tell a story and you give someone, they watch from the beginning of the knife making all the way till the end, it's a nice way to kind of, it's a nice way to feel like you have something, you feel very, you have something of value, because you watched it being born.
Okay. What is it about your personality that hinders your business?
Good question. I think I have too much fear. I have too much fear of investing in things that I know will be good for the business. But I always feel like it's important to just kind of keep going, I don't like high highs and low lows. I like to be right down the middle all the time. So I think that taking the plunge financially is probably my hindrance. Like,
give me an example.
All right, getting a loan and hiring 10 guys, getting a loan and, getting water jets, getting a loan and, the idea of fortunately for me, Fader Knives has been in the black since day one, and we haven't had to have any loans. So I've been able to kind of piecemeal build this. When we sell some stuff, we invest in the company, but small stuff. If I had a little bit more, if I didn't have as much fear, I would be investing in a bigger situation. But I don't want. I'm not confident enough in me to do that. You want an answer, you get an answer.
That's exactly what I want. Okay. Right. Where does that come from?
Where did it come from? It came from insecurities growing up, most likely. The thing is, right now, business is good. But I know that to get to the next level, we're going to need to have a cash infusion and kind of jump up to a bigger situation. So that's maybe we can do it without that. Maybe we can, I don't know. It's insecurities.
Wait. You know what I think I just heard?
Go ahead.
An excuse.
It's a real excuse. I mean, it's a real excuse. It's like, I have to juggle between sleeping at night and going forward. And it is, you're right. I mean, it is an excuse. But I mean, it's also, yeah, no, you're right. It's an excuse.
I was giving you a hard time, and let me give you my.
No, it's fine. No, you were right. You're absolutely right.
My overhead is $30K a month.
Yikes.
Right, and that's what that's what you don't want to get into. Because when you got that a month, you're married to your bills.
Yeah.
Which means you have to get stuff done and get it out.
Right.
But I wouldn't have it any other way.
All right.
Because what happens is with that debt, with that overhead, not debt, with that overhead pushing me, it makes me go beyond what needs to get done to make sure that things happen. And let's say you're comfortable where you are and there's steps that you can take to get bigger. But that should also trouble you going to sleep.
Honestly, it's not just, the thought of 30,000 a month overhead, you might as well start writing my tombstone now. But the other thing is that, it's also a balance between, I just recently, since coronavirus hit, I've really started to not work Saturdays. And it's to be with my family. And
that's a good thing.
I want to make sure that it's a delicate balance between making money and growing this business, but also not losing out on the time I have with my family. So it's this like this. Every time it's like this. And now we're at the point now where we're investing in the things we're taking a lot of the labor out of my hands, which is really, really great. Just not fast enough,
Yes. Yeah. No, I'm with you because my plan.
I'm with you. That's going to be your new favorite expression. I guarantee you.
I say that a lot.
You will be now.
My thing was like yours, no debt, no loans. Like when I got a kiln, I waited until I had the money to buy the kiln. I didn't make a loan to get a kiln to dry the wood faster, to make more money faster. I took my time to get a kiln, and a buddy of mine would talk to me about that. He got with Alan Adler. He's like, just make a loan, get it, and pay the loan off. It'll happen faster. I was like, no.
I don't know what happened. You were saying you just paid off your kiln.
Yes. That's Alan. He goes, mention my name and the video dies. Alan, that's exactly what happened. And Alan is a buddy of mine. He's like a mentor.
Right.
And he's a real businessman. So I made every effort to not take on any debt. If there was something I wanted, it would take me 6 months, 8 months, a year to get the money to pay cash for it, as opposed to make a loan, get it now to move the business. And the same way when I bought my second sawmill, it was a Woodmize LT40. It was like 40 grand. And I called them. I said, I want a saw. He goes, oh, give you notes. I said, no, I don't want any notes. You hold the saw. I'm going to make payments. And when it's paid off, I'll come and pick it up. So it took me 9 months, 8 or 9 months to pay it. But like you, I literally did not want any debt, zero. But does that hinder the growth of the business?
Well, there are other options. Like, my partner Tony and I were at one point where we had an opportunity for, the door was filled with people who wanted to invest. But then we had a good thing going and we didn't want to be beholden to an investor. That was another issue. So I didn't want to be beholden to a bank. I didn't want to be beholden to all of a sudden, hey man, can you make Bowie knives? I'm like, that's not really what I do. So we're growing organically in a very positive way. It's just, time's not on our side. That's all.
Okay. All right. If you would
I agree with you.
Who would you travel cross country with on a motorcycle?
I don't understand motorcycles. Like I don't understand. I've never understood the fascination with motorcycles for this reason. You got to wear special clothing and you got to wear a helmet and you can't drink coffee and you can't just have a conversation with someone. It's like all attention all the time. I don't know. I don't think I could do any. Oh, somebody's holding me from behind. Who needs that? I mean, I just think that I talked to a friend of mine who's a motorcycle and he says he's got lower back problems. He sits in a certain position. I was like, who wants that? Who wants that? The answer is nobody. Not even me. I wouldn't want to go. I don't even think I could do, like, a friend of mine came up here to my shop from Philly, and he says it took him 4 hours to get here from Philly. And I'm like, well, what did you do? He's like, you stop and you stretch a lot. I'm like, what? You get in a car or train, and then you can drink your coffee, you can eat a sandwich, you can listen to whatever you want, you don't have to wear any sunglasses. He don't wear like an armor. That sounds like terrible.
Okay. Okay.
Is that a good answer?
Well, you didn't answer the question.
All
But
right.
if you
So
have to go,
who would I go on? Does it have to be a motorcycle?
give me,
Well,
give
it
me
would be my
that.
wife. It would be my wife. My wife and I have a very, very strong relationship based on interesting conversations. So, but I mean, if you're on a motorcycle, you're not gonna have a conversation with someone, you know.
But and you're okay with her holding you from behind.
My wife. That's about it. That's about it. Everybody else is like, what the fuck? You can't talk to me. What's going on here? I saw a woman on a motorcycle yesterday. She looked miserable. She was on the back, and she's sitting there, just like looking around, and she doesn't want to put her hands on the guy's waist. And she's like, it doesn't look enjoyable at all.
I'm with you. What was your favorite concert?
I saw the Rolling Stones. I'll tell you, it's a tough one. Right before my daughter was born, we saw Prince, amazing. We saw David Bowie at the Beacon Theater, which was amazing. We saw Stones, and we went to see everybody because we thought when the baby comes, we're not seeing anything.
But you thought there was going to be a pandemic.
I would have to say, well, I mean, 15 years ago. Yeah, exactly. But I would have to say, and we were supposed to see the Black Crowes this month, but obviously. I'm a giant Rolling Stones fan. It was probably the Rolling Stones, but seeing David Bowie at the Beacon Theater was incredible. Incredible. I'd say David Bowie.
Okay. Right. When was the last time you cried?
I'll tell you. I cried. My wife is a frontline worker, and she got coronavirus. And in April, she had full-blown coronavirus. And we had to take care of her with quarantining her and taking care of my daughter. And there were a few moments where we had to call the paramedics because she was really not doing well. Luckily, everything went fine, but there was a lot of relief crying. So both my daughter and I both tested positive for coronavirus too in April, and it was intense. It was super intense. And there was a lot of relief crying. There was a lot of crying after that. It was intense, man. It was in our house. April was intense, super intense.
I'm glad you made it through that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, she's a frontline worker. It's just like, well, what are you gonna do? So it was an intense time.
And thank her for her service.
I will tell her she's on vacation now. She might even be drinking a cocktail as we speak. 10:30 in the morning. You never know.
Good for her.
She deserves it.
Yep. What impact do you want to leave on your industry?
I'm not sentimental, and I'm not as much of a narcissist that I feel I need to leave a legacy. The only legacy I want to leave is I want to be able to make sure that my daughter can go to college without debt. I want to be able to have a couple bucks for her if she decides she wants to buy her house. I want to be able to provide for my wife, and that's it. In regards to the knife making community, I like to be as helpful and as generous as possible with information. But as opposed to that, I've never once said I make the best knives or I make better knives than them. That doesn't interest me. I want to provide customer service, and I want to explain to a lot of knife makers how important customer service actually is.
So
some of these guys are the worst. Some of these guys are the worst. You have no idea. Some of them are the worst.
So that's the impact. That's your impact.
Maybe. You got me.
When was your most difficult time for your business, and how did you overcome it?
My most difficult time in my business was I was a blacksmith and a sculptor for a while. And then when I helped teach bladesmithing classes and I started to make knives, and I thought, I can do this. And I was selling knives and stuff like that, but I didn't have the business infrastructure. But I knew in order to get the support of my wife, you know, you go tell your wife you want to make knives for a living, she's going to think you're out of your mind. So the toughest part was before I asked my business partner to be my business partner, and he helped me elevate this business to somewhere where you can see just an extraordinary amount of growth and where we're going further. So the toughest part was before I had my business partner, and that's how I alleviated the toughest part by admitting, I don't know, I might be good at one thing, but I'm not good at everything. And if I'm not good at everything, I can address it and then figure out a way that I can let someone else help me with my deficiencies. And that's what I did.
Okay.
And it was the best decision I ever made in this business, was pulling in my business partner.
All right. Do you have any black friends?
Yeah. I just interviewed a friend of mine. His name is Quentin Middleton. He has a company called Middleton Made Knives in Charleston. I just interviewed him on Monday, and he was fascinating. And he's an interesting guy because he comes from the Gullah Geechee community down in the Low Country, and how his brother's a chef, and they do like traditional Gullah cuisine and bringing on the traditions of the Gullah Geechee people. And he's probably one of my biggest influences is Quentin Middleton, for sure.
Okay. All right. I sent him an invite. He never responded.
He's a good dude. Listen, I'm going to tell you this. I will talk to him. I'll make sure I get hold. Awesome dude. Quentin's an awesome dude. One of the most generous people I've ever met.
All right.
It was obviously a clerical error. He's not that kind of guy.
Listen, I'm a random black dude on Instagram asking people for interviews. I'm likely to be ignored by anybody.
I saw you as a New Yorker. And we stick by New Yorkers.
Okay, well, hook your brother up.
I'm telling you, I just said I'll talk to Quentin, no problem.
Do you often see people of color in your industry?
No. Knife making, no.
How do you think we fix that? How do we change that?
I think when you celebrate guys like Quentin Middleton and Joshua Prince makes some beautiful knives in Rhode Island. I think that when you show people guys like him being both of them two successful guys, really incredibly talented, I think you end up encouraging more people, especially black people and people of color, to say, all right, this guy can do it, I can do it. But
what about,
I think that making it very clear that enjoying and seeing and pushing up guys like them is very important, and that's it. But it is not a very diverse community. You know?
And what about the female side?
Same thing. Female side's tough because there's a lot, because knife making is very, very there's a masculine quality to it. A lot of female knife makers, when there are a pile of them, but it's tougher for them because there's a weird misconception that with a lot of them that people will say awful things, and then you're playing with your husband's tools and stuff like that. It's just like, it's all very unfortunate. But the same thing is you celebrate and try to show people this is my friend and this is what they're doing, and as being as positive and supportive as possible.
Who would you most like to have a conversation with?
Good question. I would like to dig up my dead father and talk to him and ask him, shake him around a little bit. Is that a bad question? Is that a bad answer? I mean, that's all I can think of. I gotta get back with him. He and I need a little bit of
clarity.
There needs to be some clarity. I need to take Zombie Dad and we need to go into group therapy.
So what was that like?
Well, I mean, it was tough. I mean, my father was much older than me. When I was born, he was 50. So we came from different generations, and there was a lot of like personality disorders going on, and there was a lot of not giving me everything I could to be successful in terms of just like emotionally. So that's it. I like to figure that all out.
Yeah, it's hard to figure out.
It's tough. You know, with me and my kid, I do everything I do is to make sure that she had more than my dad, more than I had. And I want to give her every possible thing I can give her to be successful. And I don't know why that's like a difficult thing for a lot of people. So that's really kind of where I am.
Okay. All right. All right. So no more questions. Are you ready?
Am I ready? There are no more questions?
No more questions.
Great.
Ready to tell us your journey. Let's start from high school. Tell us how you got started and the different things that led you to making knives.
Well, I was always, you know, dyslexic. A lot of dyslexic people are visual thinkers, and it was much easier for me to draw than it was to do anything else. So even in high school, I was drawing, and I thought that I'd be an art major. Went to college, I was an art major, and I liked my dad when I was a kid. I wasn't allowed to have toy guns, so my father showed me how to use a bandsaw and make whatever. He said, "You can't have toy guns, but I'll show you how to use a bandsaw, and you can make whatever you want." So I was like obsessed with making swords and making guns and making all this stuff out of wood. So when I got to college, I was an art major, and then the line for the band.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Kenyon College in Ohio.
And what'd you study? Art major?
I was an art major, studio art. So there was the line for the bandsaw was like out the door. And a friend of mine said, a friend of mine was standing by the welders, and he said, "Hey kid, don't wait for glue to dry, come over here." So I was just like, I'm not gonna weld. This is for like, you know, Mr. T in the A-team is the only welder I ever knew. So then he showed me how to weld, and then all of a sudden you're not waiting for glue to dry. And then you're kind of, you can defy physics to a certain degree. And it was one of those things that became very, very, very fast. Like it's super fast. And I liked it. And I liked the tacticalness, tactility of it all. I liked the fact that, if the steel wasn't the right, you could change the steel. And then I kind of really stayed strictly with welding and steel sculpture. And then most of my work was steel sculpture. When I got out of college, I worked for a lot of artists as a fabricator. So if they had these giant structures they needed to do, they weren't going to hire certified welders. They were going to get some dopey kid who is going to charge like, $15 an hour to weld. And I would work for a lot of artists as an assistant. So then I went to culinary school because I was about to get married, and and my in-laws weren't thrilled that I was an artist. So I thought, oh, here's a great idea. Let's go into the culinary world. Another stupid decision. And then I ended up working for restaurants as a fabricator. And then after that, I went back into the medical industry, and I got a job as a fabricator at a blacksmith shop in New York called Fine Architectural Metalsmiths, which is now the Center for Metal Arts. And I was a fabricator, and they did blacksmithing. And what blacksmithing is taking a piece of steel, sticking in a forge, pulling it out with tongs, and then manipulating the mass. And then we were teaching. We had international teachers come in, and it was one of those things where it was the best way for me to kind of take steel and manipulate it.
Okay, hold on. The Center for Metal Arts, that was in upstate New York somewhere, right? And it moved. It
used to be in Florida, New York, which is by Warwick and Middletown. And then within the past 2 years, it moved down to Pennsylvania.
Okay. All right. And how many years were you there?
I was there for 5 years.
Working and teaching? Working and learning?
There was like two things. They had an architectural ironworks division, and where we were doing railings, and we actually worked on the gates of the Dakota building in New York, and we did a lot of like fine architectural metalsmith. And then on the weekends, and then every so often, we have teachers come in to teach, and I was the assistant. So I would help get the steel ready for all the students, and I would help the teacher, with the forges and help them with the power hammers, and I became like the assistant to the classes.
Okay. How did that help where you are now?
Well, Well, for blacksmithing in general, when I first started doing it, it wasn't very. It was before Forged in Fire came out, so it wasn't super mainstream. And as I did it, it plus with Instagram, it became much more interesting, a visual thing that people enjoyed seeing. So it was a very easy transition to go from forging, railings and whatever to forging knives. The easy transition. The transition into being a knife maker became very easy because I already had all the skills of manipulating mass and using grinders and using all this, So I had to pick up a few little things in order to kind of understand what even heat treatment is, what's tempering, what's the different steels and performance. But like my life in the culinary world and the life in the metal world helped me bring it all together in sort of this business.
Do you think of, when you're knife making, is it geared toward the kitchen, meaning restaurants, or just anyone who wants to buy a knife?
When I first started making knives, when you first start learning how to make knives, you're usually making smaller knives, like hunting knives and stuff like that. But the problem is I was never a hunter. I didn't really have a lot of experience in that, but I was a cook. And what I started to realize is I really like to make the stuff that I'm used to. So I went to culinary school. I was a cook. My friends are all cooks. And I wanted to make knives for family and friends. So I wanted really kind of like very no nonsense, no bells and whistles, of a very good use knife with without a lot of pretension, but also it was very affordable and approachable.
Okay. Is that what you do now? You have a line of kitchen knives? I mean, a line of chef knives?
I make a lot of different types of knives. I make chef knives, different size chef knives, and boning knives, and fillet knives, and serrated knives for cutting, bread and stuff like that. And then I do oyster knives. And then I designed a knife for a Black Hawk helicopter pilot a number of years ago for his escape and evasion vest. And I do a little bit of hunting and tactical knives, not too many, but it's fun to do little things every so often. Different. It's nice to change it up. Like if I just did one knife all the time, it would be like, I'd be out of my mind. Like right now, I'm restoring all these cleavers, and that's like a fun little departure. And then I'm going to work on steak knives next week, and I got a lot of different things going on.
Do you still do welding, or is it just?
Not if I can help it. Not if I can help it. Honestly, it's. I have a welder, and I pay a lease on my tank, and I always try to see, when I pay the lease on my tank, I always wonder how many times I've actually welded in between the yearly leases. And if I haven't welded at all between the yearly leases, my opinion is the knife making is going well. Like if I welded a pile, if I've had to replace the tank like 5 times in between leases, something's wrong. So like now that I know, like I just went a whole lease to 1-year lease without having to turn the gas on, things are going well.
That's good. Where do you want to go next? You talked about growth in the loan. What would put you in a different place?
Well, there's a few things that I want to do to separate myself out. I want to kind of branch into more kitchen stuff. It's not just I've been talking about making pans for a while. There's a lot of guys making pans. I want to do more, more kitchen stuff. Like I really would love to make my own pans, frying pans, like that. And I want to just like, I'm doing something that a lot of knife makers aren't doing, which is I'm working with chefs and helping chefs design the knife they want. And then I'll do a signature series with them. And then I'm making the knife that this particular chef wants. So like right now I'm doing an offset serrated knife with this chef, Trevor Kunk, and it's great. And I'm enjoying making it. And we're just about hitting our cap in terms of when we got to stop taking orders. And I like working with people. I like collaboration. So I want to do more of that, but on a big scale.
What do you need to do to make pans?
Well, I mean, there's a number of things. The way I do, there's a number of ways. There are these lathes, but they're not really like for wood. They'll hold a sheet of steel, a circular sheet of steel, and then using levers and
so is it metal spinning?
yeah, exactly. There's some guys who do metal spinning. I mean, I would imagine you could probably heat the steel up and put it in a press and then use a form to press it. I think metal spinning is probably the way to go. And then the cool thing would be to be able to make, there's a lot of guys who do it. There's a lot of guys who do it really well. And I obviously don't want to do it the way they do it. So I probably get, metal spinning would be the way to go. And then it would be nice to forge out the handle,
Very nice.
We'll see. We'll see.
Right.
Pocket knives too. That's something I really want to do more of.
Okay, if you make knives and you can make pocket knives, well, why don't you just make more of them?
Why don't I just what?
So why don't you just make more of them? Is it you can't get around to it? Or?
I've made a few pocket knives to the point where they're okay, but they're not really like, they're not separating me out as this is a fader knife, So I really want to kind of figure it out a little bit better in terms of not only the action, but the look and everything else. Like I've fooled around with a pile of them, and I like them, but they're not really like speaking to me. So I'm just kind of like putting them on the back burner. I look at them on my desk, and every so often I kind of just like figure out what makes mine different, and I want to make sure that I'm not just like ripping someone off and stuff like that.
Okay. Can we get a tour
of this shop?
Yeah.
It's a dump right now.
We got to get a tour, man.
It's not a tour. Come on, man. It's a dump right now. It's not ready for a tour. I got underwear hanging around. I can't. If I knew we were going to do a tour, I would have cleaned. You can't. You don't want to see this stuff. Trust me. But we'll do it again and we'll get a tour. But I got a forging area here. I got grinders over here. I have, stabilizing wood over here. It's a shit house. It's a shit house right now.
So, can you show us some knives?
Right now, this is something I'm finishing up. This is actually,
it's beautiful.
This is a stainless steel knife I'm fooling around with this ferrule here is 3000 BC bog oak. This is like a turquoise composite. And then the bottom here is some light wood. I don't remember what it was. But then the way I put it in was I put it in with like a red folder. And I'm actually making a sculptural, you ever see those Japanese knives with a wooden sheath? It's called a saya. I'm making it as kind of a sculptural saya for it. So yeah, this is the only thing I have right now. I'm restoring some knives. Here's a restoration of doing. I restored this cleat, and then I kind of sanded it down. I gave it like a mustard patina, and then I put the file work on it, and then these different colored handles. This is that's what I'm working on. We got to finish up a pile of these restored cleavers.
Very nice. Now, are they really old meat cleavers or just
Yeah, I'm not forging. I forged a couple cleavers. It's such a pain in the ass. So we decided, my business partner, like 2 years ago, got a pile of cleavers. And he said, it's great. It's just kind of clean them up a little bit, put your own handle on it. So we did that, and this is something. It's just something to change it up a little bit, keeping the price point down because I don't have to do any heat treatment. I don't have to do any. We just got some lumpers, and I kind of clean them up.
All right. What's the price range for your work?
Well, it depends. An oyster knife is under $200, like 150-ish, and then I've made knives up to like $1,600. My chef knives are usually under 500, but then tax and shipping and stuff like that. So I want to try to make. I'd rather try to make knives that are less expensive. Like if I could have like a knife at the like a 8-inch chef knife at the $300 level, that'd be perfect for me. But they're averaging between like 350 to 500. Something like that, for like a chef knife, like an 8-inch to 9-inch chef knife. And then the oyster knives and the paring knives are between 150 to like 250 or something like that.
Is there a particular metal you like working with?
Well, for carbon steel, I use 52-100, which is a great knife, a great carbon steel knife to heat treat. And then for stainless steel, I use 440C.
Okay. Do you ever reuse any reclaimed materials, or everything is new stuff?
Why, yes, I do. Actually, I work with a lot of winemakers and whiskey barrel guys, and I get a lot of barrel of them. So I'll get I'll get the head of a barrel, wood barrel, and then I'll stabilize the oak, and then I can make the handles out of that. I like doing that. I get a lot of. I worked with Pappy Van Winkle, and I got a barrel head of Pappy Van Winkle from Buffalo Trace, and
Nice.
I made a pile of handles out of that stuff. I love that. Yeah.
What wood do you usually prefer to work with?
I get Hudson Valley figured walnut, which I love the most. Figured walnut. Here's some figured walnut that has got a ton of activity in it.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's really rich. Oak and walnut and brass is such a classic combination. So I push a lot of that. I use a lot of Hudson Valley maple, curly maple and curly maple. I like that a lot. And then I'd say walnut's probably my favorite, but like figured walnut, like regular walnut doesn't do it for me. I need I need some character.
Where do you get your wood from?
I get a lot of it from my local lumberyard, Danes, in Peekskill. And then I've also gotten a lot of wood from, there's a place in White Plains called Condon.
Yeah, Condon. They're one of my clients.
I get a lot of interesting things from them.
So you're
now I'm going to get my wood from you.
You're that close to me.
Well, you're in Yonkers, right?
Yeah.
I'm in Peekskill, so.
I have a yard in White Plains. Well, Hartsdale.
Well, obviously I'm gonna have to go to you from now on.
I didn't realize you were that close.
See, it takes an interview to figure these things out, right? We're only like 50 minutes into an interview, and now you know.
Right, you're about 15 miles away.
Most likely, yeah. What's the name of your yard?
My yard is not an open yard. It's appointment only.
Okay. So you sell to guys like Condon, or?
Oh, everybody.
Well, I'm gonna have to go get some burls from you or something.
Yeah, my yard is gigantic.
I need some burls. I need some local burls.
I got a little something.
Stuff like this. This was sent to me from Texas. This is mesquite from Texas. I gotta dry it out and then stabilize it.
Yeah. You should come to the yard. I got more wood than the law allows.
Look at you. Outstanding.
I got 25 different species.
Wow.
And it's all local.
It's all local. Well, I'm gonna set up a time and when I'm not so germophobic, and I'll come on down and we'll talk wood.
What are you worried about? You had it already.
You never know. My wife is a nurse practitioner, and she's like, just stay in your shop and shut up. So I listen to whatever she says.
No, I completely agree with that, because you don't know.
My daughter and I we lost our sense of taste and smell, and it's a neurological thing. So we don't know, you don't know what's going to happen down the line. So we're trying to keep it as, canceling. I was supposed to teach in Barcelona, and I was going to teach here and teach there, and we canceled everything. We canceled family trips. I'm for the most part, with the exception of going to the supermarket, I'm quarantining. Or here. Look, New York had it the worst, and now it's not the worst anymore.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother thing. Well, those people didn't believe that it was real.
I saw it firsthand.
Well, of course.
It was super real. It was too real. It was too real.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we covered it all. Are there any questions? You're very entertaining, by the way. A pleasure to chat with.
Well, it's a pleasure to chat with you too, Robert. I'm on 2 podcasts. This is not my first time.
This is not your first rodeo.
I'm on Knife Talk, which is the #1 knife-related podcast on the planet, and then I have a podcast called the Full Blast Podcast.
Okay.
So, yeah, I appreciate it. You're very kind.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Anytime. I'm going to talk to Quentin. I'm going to send him a message and say, go on the listen. I'm on it.
Tell him. So listen, so there's some black guy kind of trying to contact you.
I don't think I'm going to say it. I don't think I'm going to, peace and love. I don't think I'm going to say it like that. Okay. I'm born tonight, but not last night. I'm not going to say it like that. I know what to do. I'm not going to do it like that. If I type Quentin, there's a black guy in New York who wants you to be on his podcast. How well do you think that's going to, I'm not that friendly. I mean, if you're friends, but I mean, like.
Okay, all right.
That's trouble, man. That's the beginning of major trouble. I got a good thing going with Quentin, and I'll help you out. But let me do the introductions, for God's sakes. Jesus, you're getting me in trouble. Hey, Quentin, there's this black guy up here who wants to talk to you. I can't do that.
Right, and he's some kind of lumberjack.
Yeah, no, I can't do that. I got this. I'm on top of it. But I mean, please. Peace and love. I'll make it happen. Woo! Bubble.
All right, my brother.
It was a pleasure talking with you. And
Same here, man.
When this is all over, I'm going to come down and see you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing. I think it's really important, and I think it's great.
Thank you, brother. I'm trying.
I'm with you. There you go.
I'm with you as well.
All right, my brother. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. Thank you.